of my favorite quotes is, "Sometimes your only available mode of transportation is a leap of faith." And this story is my best example of that. I'll start at the very beginning. So, fear, doubt, obstacle, struggle. What do these words mean? Typically, we think they mean something negative. But as a writer and someone who's always enjoyed playing with words, one day I was struck by the idea of doing an exploration. What if we could create acronyms that actually meant the opposite of the word they formed? Fear, fully empowered and ready. Doubt, do only unexpected, brilliant things. Obstacle, often blessings show themselves as challenges. Look everywhere. Struggle, starting to release unseen greatness, giving life everything. So naturally, when this idea struck, I was at work at a 9 to 5, and I thought to myself, wow, what a cool idea. I'm gonna turn this into a business. I think what I'll do is put these words on posters and sell millions of them. So I proceeded to go to LegalZoom, buy a domain for a company that I call Operation Inside Out, turning negativity inside out. And I spent about 1.5 years planning to launch my business. So I paid graphic designers to design posters and designed a set of mugs. Then everything was ready. And then in July of last year, I launched my online company, which was basically an online store selling the most inspirational products you've ever seen. Mugs you just had to have, posters you were gonna buy right then and there because they were the coolest things you've ever seen in your life. And so I launched on Facebook and told all my friends and family about Operation Inside Out and the inspiring messages that I had created. And I launched everything to the resounding sound of crickets. I think I only had about maybe 5 to 7 sales when I launched. So I said, maybe I'm just not reaching enough people. So I proceeded to buy some Facebook ads. And I found out that I was very proficient at Facebook ads, which is pretty good since I came from advertising. And still, no one seemed very interested. So then I tried Google AdWords. I said, maybe I just need to reach more people. So I got really clever with Google AdWords and sat on the phone with the sales guy and learned what I needed to know, at least for a beginner, and proceeded again not to sell very much product. So then I said, well, what if I turn this into a book? And so this is where my story really begins. So my rebel story, or rebellion story, is really about rebelling against failure and what may initially look like failure and continuing to go forward despite feeling discouraged, which stands for divine inspiration, summons confidence or unstoppable resolve, and guides every decision. And that's one of the biggest words that I've been living with, because I have been discouraged over and over and over again, and I'm still standing. So back to the book. So I proceeded to turn everything into a book, came up with this really cool idea for a quote book. I called it Turn It Around. I sent it off to probably 20 or 30 publishers and proceeded to get either ignored or rejected by each one. So then I said, this is after the holidays, I said, okay, well, maybe what I should do is go door to door and try to sell the posters and mugs that way. So I went back to trying to sell product. And I went to a nursing home to see if that was something they might be interested in, having a doubt poster in their lobby. They weren't interested, but they were very nice. And this was my This was my very first presentation. I was so nervous, I was shaking as I told the guy, the very nice guy, about the concept behind the message. And then I proceeded to go to various gyms and local businesses who all very politely and very nicely told me that they were not interested. But I did have one success. I went to one gym chain, a large chain, and although they were not interested, they said, well, why don't you go try this community center down the street? And so I went, and I got the contact information for the head of operations there, sent him an email, just asked for a meeting, and to my surprise, he agreed and asked for a little bit more about my company and what I was doing, and long story slightly shorter, I ended up selling 3 posters to them, and they're interested in the rest of the words. There are 18 words in total. Fail, doubt, obstacle, discouraged, pain, mistake, fear, adversity, struggle, difficult, confusion, limited, afraid, scared, and problem. All of which I am intimately familiar with. So that was a bright spot and a very interesting journey. But I still wasn't selling very much product. Where were my millions? So I said, well, it seems that people appreciate the message, but they just don't seem very interested in the medium. And a voice inside my head kept saying, context, Kiki, context. Maybe this wasn't the right context for the words that I was trying to put out there. So then I kept thinking, and I said to myself, well, what would I really like if I could do anything at all? If I were already a millionaire and sitting on piles of money and not trying to make money, but I was really doing this just for the joy of it. And I said, well, I would just buy a billboard. And so I said, they didn't want it on Facebook. They didn't want to buy it as mugs and posters. No one's yet interested in the book. And they also didn't buy the t-shirts. And I said, well, what if I put up a billboard? Because ultimately, that's really what I wanted, was to get these messages out there in the biggest, baddest way possible, as much as I could. And so I said, well, there's this thing called Kickstarter. Maybe I can get people to help me pay for a billboard. And I imagined having a billboard of the word obstacle. Often blessings show themselves as challenges. Look everywhere. On I-95 or a bridge location where someone who maybe was feeling as dejected as I had felt along my journey would see it and be inspired, hopefully, or would find that spark to keep facing the difficulty or the struggle in their life. And that is my current location on this pathway, is trying to make that happen. So, thank you.